Hi guys, it's Quinn. I am here today to talk about books that I have sentimental feelings towards. This will be high school edition because I've realized over the years that one of my love languages is gift giving, specifically giving books as gifts. And the opposite is kind of true as well, receiving books as gifts, receiving recommendations for things to read, stuff like that. And so I've been thinking about books that mean a lot to me because they remind me of certain people, and I decided to make a video about it. And it turns out that half my bookshelves has books that have sentimental meanings to me, and there are even books that I have sentiment towards that I don't even own. So that would be probably at least an hour-long video, so I'm breaking up into parts. And with that, let's get started. So the first one is Alfred Lord Tennyson's Idylls of the King. I have this really old version right here. You can only get the title on the spine. And this book means a lot to me because one of my favorite English teachers from high school, my senior year AP English Lit teacher, at the end of the year, we were in the school library bringing back our textbooks. And she went in the back and brought out two editions of these, and gave one to me and one to my friend, saying that she thought that we would enjoy having them, and I have. I really love Tennyson. I really love Idylls of the King, and it's just really meant a lot to me that she saw this and thought of me. The next set of books are from a friend. She was very influential in what I read in high school, and because of her, I have been introduced to a lot of books that I like. First one is V for Vendetta by Alan Moore. This is actually her copy that she lent to me. She said that she thought I would like it, and I did, and she didn't like it when she read it, so she gave it to me to keep after I finished it. And she and this other girl that I was fairly close with actually convinced me to read Red Hood, The Lost Days by Judd Winnick, and also Gail Simone's Birds of Prey. So those also hold a lot of sentimental value towards me, but I don't have copies of them, unfortunately. I'd like to get copies eventually, but for now, I don't. And that's okay. The next book I have was lent to me by the same friend. It's Tuesdays with Maurey by Mitch Albom. She lent this to me, and also Tale of Despero, over Thanksgiving break our senior year of high school. And I really liked both of them. Unfortunately, I don't have a copy of Tale of Despero, but I did find a copy of Tuesdays with Maurey in a used bookstore years later, and so I got it. And it just reminds me of her. And she also lent me Burnt by Ellen Hopkins, which I don't have a copy of, but that's something I have sentimental feelings towards because it was the first book by Ellen Hopkins I read, and because of that book I have went on to read more by Ellen Hopkins because I really enjoy her writing. It's story, but she writes in poetry, so you get some really cool structural things going on. And if you like YA, and even if you don't like poetry, I would recommend giving it a shot because it's really cool, and especially if you just like angsty teen stories, which I really enjoyed as a teenager and I still kind of enjoy now. It's a good read. These next two are again from the same friend, and they go hand in hand because they were Secret Santa gifts during our time in marching band, and it is 9 Stories by J.D. Salinger and This Side of Paradise by F. Scott Fitzgerald. And I really like J.D. Salinger, so it really means a lot to me that she got me a volume of J.D. Salinger's short stories. The 9 Stories and his other works that are not named The Catcher in the Rye aren't really talked about in academia or anywhere that I've seen. So it was really cool that I had access to more of his writing. I mean, of course I could have probably gone to any bookstore or library and picked it up, but it just means that much to me that she went out of her way to ensure that I could read it. And then with This Side of Paradise, I also really like F. Scott Fitzgerald. I'm a fan of The Great Gatsby. And This she got me, and I eventually read it in a book club group and with a friend. He and I were in a book club for a class grade, but we also did our own little mini book club. But this was for the class grade. In retrospect, I think it's a really cool book. I didn't like it at the time. This is F. Scott Fitzgerald's first novel, and there's a lot of playing around with form. Like, at one point it's prose, and then at another point it's letters, and at another point it's a stage play. And it was kind of frustrating at the time, but as a newbie writer, I can definitely appreciate what he was trying to do a lot more. I think he was just trying to find his voice. Speaking of book clubs with the other friend that I had in high school, I had many friends in high school, but the two that have been brought up in this video were definitely probably my two best friends. He and I, on our own, tried to read the picture of Dorian Gray together, and this is actually not the copy that I had when reading it. I got a copy from the library, and he and I never finished it. As far as I know, I didn't finish it, and I don't think he did either, because we were kind of swamped at that point in the year. But after I moved away to college, I found this copy, and I was like, yes, I'm getting this because of my friend. And I did, and now I have carried it with me ever since. The next book is Dante's Inferno by Dante Alighieri. I think I'm pronouncing his last name right. That friend that I did book clubs with, he and I were signed up to take AP European History the summer before our sophomore year, and recommended reading for the class was Dante's Inferno. Unfortunately, I don't have a copy of actually, it's quite fortunately, because I've complained a lot. I shouldn't say unfortunately, because I complain a lot about how just the Inferno is sold and not the other books in the Divine Comedy. But I have this fancy copy of all three poems in one of the Divine Comedy, so I'm very happy that I was able to find all three, and now I have all three. But the point was, I don't have a copy that's just the Inferno. I don't have the specific copy that he read that I was inspired to read and follow along with. But I have an even cooler copy. The next book is Life on the Mississippi by Mark Twain. This same friend gave this to me knowing that I liked Mark Twain, so I have just carried this around with me because it really means a lot to me that he paid attention. Like my other friend, my other friends are very good at paying attention to what I like to read and catering to that. So I now have Life on the Mississippi by Mark Twain, and I think it's a nonfiction, or it's at least very much based on true events. It's been a while, so I can't remember. And then last, but certainly not least, is this copy of The Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger. This same friend who gave me Life on the Mississippi, who read Inferno, who read This Side of Paradise and The Picture of Dorian Gray with me, lent me this copy. This was his copy, but then he just said I could keep it. He lent it to me because I really liked The Catcher in the Rye and I wanted to reread it, and so he lent it to me, and then he just ended up saying that I could keep it, and it just means that much to me that he let me keep it for pretty much the same reason as all of the other ones, that he just knew what I liked to read and encouraged it. That's all I have for you today. This has been Quinn with the Teacup Brigade. If you like, please leave a like, subscribe, ring the bell, do what you gotta do. If you have any books that you have sentimental feelings towards, I'd love to hear about them in the comments. Please leave any comments below. I'd love to have discussions with you and hear about your books that you hold dearly to your heart. And with that, I'll see you next time.